Checkpoints and save points in video games can be rather underrated. You don't really notice their importance until they're gone, or unless how they're spaced, forcing you to go long stretches without dying. Let's take a look at 15 of the most unfair checkpoints in gaming. Blood-Stained Sanctuary, Cave Story. The Blood-Stained Sanctuary is truly the toughest challenge that Cave Story has to offer. It has 3 sections filled with death spikes, falling blocks, and respawning buttes. By the time you get to the end of the 3rd section, it's a battle with the first boss, Heavy Press. But wait, there is more. You then proceed down a passage to face the toughest boss in the game, Balos, with his 4 phases. Now make sure you do all of that in one go, or you have to start from the beginning. Path to the Queen, Eco. Ever wondered what purpose Yorda served in Escort Simulator to Eco besides potential shadow food? As it turns out, she's a key factor in saving the game. You need to find a couch, and both characters must sit on it to save progress. So when Yorda and Eco become separated at the castle bridge, the latter has to make the entire run all the way up to the final boss, the Queen, without being able to save. With numerous events and battles to run through, it's fairly lengthy, and of course, dying puts you back at the point of separation. Torvus Bog, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. Good old Torvus Bog. It doesn't really get bad until you reach the submerged part of the area, because who doesn't love underwater levels? You'll need to open 3 locks. The problem is that the gravity boost is required for opening the 3rd lock. Getting it means then fighting an alpha blog, that too underwater, and finally reaching the save point. Messed up anywhere? Well, have fun doing all of that tedious work once again. PHAZON Mines, Metroid Prime. Let's not forget about the first game, which had its own take on, you don't need checkpoints, you have my love. Metroid Prime's PHAZON Mine gave us 1 save point at the beginning, and boy, you did need it. From that point on, there were Shadow Troopers, Wave Troopers, Ice Troopers, and Elite Pirates. The list of troubles to deal with goes on. Finally, after all of that, you could save. Did you die somewhere? Well, better go back and do all of it again, and you're probably noticing a pattern by now with some of these checkpoints. Act 6, Ninja Gaiden NES. Anyone who's played Ninja Gaiden on the NES will know that that game is kind of tough. To that end, Act 6 is truly the pinnacle of challenges the game has to offer. You need to progress through 3 entire stages before encountering your first boss, the Masked Devil. From there, it's another boss fight with Jakio, and now you have no spirit power or ninja technique to use when it starts. Don't let Ryu's reunion with his father throw you off afterwards. There's one more boss fight with the demon sculpture to finally end the game. Die on any of these bosses and it's straight back to stage 1, which is kind of beneficial for fighting Jakio since you won't have to face the Masked Devil again and actually have spirit power this time around. All missions, Perfect Dark Zero. No one has ever claimed Perfect Dark Zero to be a great game, but even we were a little baffled at the checkpoint placements. Each mission normally offers 2 checkpoints. The first at the beginning, which is fine, but the second pops up when a mission is almost over. While we can appreciate a checkpoint before the final boss, did no one think to have additional checkpoints throughout the rest of the level, especially in longer missions? Fortunately, the AI was dumb as dirt most times, so it wasn't too bad. Long Journey's End, Super Mario Odyssey. Another one-shot level with no checkpoints in between and where failure meant starting at the very beginning. In Super Mario Odyssey's case, Long Journey's End combines almost every gameplay mechanic, including that awesome sequence with the captured Bowser. Still, for those who have slogged throughout the game and waited for a worthy challenge, this is pretty much it. Seeing the words "thank you" along with Cappy sharing his fond remembrances makes it all the more worth it. No Man's Wharf, Dark Souls 2. Love it or hate it, there's no denying that Dark Souls 2 has some strange design decisions. Case in point, No Man's Wharf. It's an interesting level with lots of verticality, dimly lit houses, and a moody dock. The problem is that there are plenty of hollow Varangians laying in wait which might be able to gank you. Be wary of Dark Dwellers as well. Without a torch, you risk taking tons of damage and suffering bleed ailments. Did we mention Suspicious Shadows with their fast attacks and bleed and poison damage? Die anywhere and you'll have to go back to the bonfire at the very start of the area because fun. Beginning to Goomba Village, Paper Mario 64. Some checkpoints aren't necessarily unfair in their difficulty as much as they are in making the player wait. Paper Mario 64 is a good example. In order to save progress, you need to hit a save block. So you start the game, head to Princess Peach's castle, fight Bowser, lose, and then get to save, right? Wrong. Next, you're in Goomba Village, and then in Toad's house, before finally heading out and hitting that first block. Challenging? No, not really, but it's still really annoying. Prologue: Nier Automata. A word from the wise: do not play Nier Automata on hard if it's your first time and you have no clue what to expect, unless you're just really good. The entirety of the prologue consists of bullet hell segments, shoot-'em-up sections, combat against numerous foes, a small boss fight, and a much larger, more protracted boss fight. It's long, and dying once results in one of the bad endings. From there, you must start from the very beginning until eventually hitting the first save point, unless you die again. EVRAE and BEVELLE, Final Fantasy X. The battle with EVRAE, the guardian worm on the Fahrenheit, can be grueling. Yuna isn't around to heal the party or use summons, and you have to figure out when to trigger Sid to move the airship closer or farther away during the battle. The worst part comes afterwards though. The party arrives in BEVELLE and must fight even more enemies without the opportunity to save and worn out from the boss battle. Losing to these soldiers starts you right back at EVRAE, and thus the whole ordeal begins again. Black Castle, an untitled story. Black Castle is no joke in an untitled story, the freeware Metroidvania title from Matt Thorson, who also made a little game called Celeste that you might have heard of. It's long enough on its own, but playing on regular mode upwards will remove a save point, thus making for even longer retreads if you die in the wrong place. Even more punishing is on Masterful mode upwards, where you have to complete almost 70% of the area before hitting the first checkpoint. Central Yharnam onwards, Bloodborne. Bloodborne's first hour presents a real struggle when it comes to save points. No, we're not talking about the prologue till the first lamp or even getting to the second lamp in Central Yharnam. We're talking about the struggle of battling through the city, looping back around to that aforementioned lamp and facing all manner of monstrosities that can kill you quickly. Eventually, you'll either find the Great Bridge and defeat the Cleric Beast for the next lamp, or the Tomb of Odin for Father Gascoigne and good luck beating him in one shot. Either way, it's quite the trek with lots of danger in between. Hollow Knight. When you're in the groove, everything in Hollow Knight is magical. Less so when you get lost, which happens often, and die in Deep Nest, forcing you to respawn somewhere in the fungal wastes, or when you basically need to fight the Hollow Knight again after failing to beat the Radiance, even if this could be played off for story reasons. Even if the game is stellar, some of these save point placements can be a real downer. Magatsu-INABA, Persona 4. As the final dungeon of the game, Magatsu-INABA consists of 3 floors, not including the loop of Magatsu Mandala. Finally reaching Adachi results in a boss fight, one in which he can summon an alternate version of Izanagi as his persona. Once you're done with that, there's a lot of exposition leading to the reveal of Amino Sagiri, the shadow that's been manipulating Adachi all this time. Cue more exposition, and you're probably wondering when you get a chance to save, but never mind that, it's a battle against Amino Sagiri, and then the ending, not including the true ending arc that comes up, so all of that, all of those cutscenes and battles, and if you lose near the end, it must all be suffered through again. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.